Prince Harry thought this would be a conversation. Alastair Campbell thought it would be an examination. No shouting, no insults. Just one question after another, until there was nowhere left to hide. The studio was quieter than Prince Harry had expected. No audience, no applause cues, no friendly chatter to soften the edges. Just two microphones, a low wooden table, and the faint hum of studio lights. The kind of room where words didn't echo, but stuck. Harry adjusted his jacket as he took his seat, glancing briefly at the glass of water beside him. He'd done dozens of interviews like this. Podcasts, long-form conversations. Spaces where he could finally tell his truth. Across from him sat Alastair Campbell, relaxed, almost casual. One hand rested near his notes, the other lightly touching the microphone stand. He wasn't smiling, but he wasn't frowning either. His expression suggested patience, the dangerous kind. "Thank you for doing this," Campbell began calmly. "I know you don't always feel the media gives you a fair hearing." Harry nodded, visibly easing. "That's an understatement," he replied. "But conversations like this matter." Campbell inclined his head. "They do, especially when influence and responsibility are involved." Harry didn't catch it, not yet. The opening minutes felt familiar, safe, even. Campbell asked about Harry's life in California, about stepping away from royal duties, about the pressure of growing up in the public eye. Harry spoke smoothly, confidently. He talked about trauma, about tabloid cruelty, about the suffocating weight of expectation. At times, his voice softened, at others, it sharpened, honed by years of repeating these stories, polishing them until they felt unassailable. Campbell listened, truly listened. No interruptions, no raised eyebrows, no counterpoints, just silence after each answer. Harry filled it. "I didn't leave because I wanted attention," he said at one point. "I left because I wanted peace." Campbell nodded again, jotting something down. "Peace," he repeated quietly. "That's an interesting word." Harry smiled faintly. "It's an important one." Campbell leaned back slightly. "You've spoken often about stepping away from power," he said. "From the institution." Harry's shoulders squared instinctively. "Yes, absolutely. And yet," Campbell continued, tone unchanged, "you remain one of the most influential public figures in the world." Harry paused. "Well, public attention isn't something you can just turn off." "Of course," Campbell agreed, "but attention isn't the same as influence." Harry frowned, just a fraction. Campbell pressed gently. "You've written books, given interviews, released documentaries, all of which shape public opinion about the monarchy, the media, even British society itself." Harry shifted in his chair. "That's not influence," he said. "That's telling my story." Campbell didn't argue. Instead, he asked softly, "Do you believe stories are neutral?" The question landed heavier than it sounded. Harry exhaled through his nose. "I believe stories can heal," he replied. "They can expose harm." Campbell nodded again. "And can they harm?" A beat. Harry hesitated, just long enough to be noticeable. "They can," he admitted, "if they're dishonest." Campbell's pen stopped moving. "And who decides that?" he asked. Harry's jaw tightened slightly. "People know the truth when they hear it." Campbell looked up now, meeting Harry's eyes fully for the first time. "Do they?" he asked. "Or do they recognize conviction?" The temperature in the room shifted, not dramatically, subtly. Harry leaned forward, hands clasped. "I've lived this," he said. "I don't need to convince anyone. I know what happened to me." Campbell's voice remained level. "I don't doubt your experience," he said. "I'm interested in what you do with it." Harry blinked. "What do you mean?" Campbell folded his hands. "You speak often about escaping the institution, about rejecting its power structures." Harry nodded, cautious now. "Yes. And yet," Campbell said, "you still speak as someone shaped by it. You frame your arguments in moral authority derived from it." Harry's eyes narrowed. "That's unfair." Campbell raised a hand slightly, not defensively, but to slow the moment. "I'm not accusing," he said. "I'm observing." Harry leaned back, crossing his arms. "Sometimes observation is accusation," he replied. Campbell smiled faintly, not amused, measured. "That's true," he said, "which is why clarity matters." Harry glanced toward the technician's booth, then back. "I came here to have a conversation," he said, "not to be psychoanalyzed." Campbell's reply was immediate, "And I came here to understand how power speaks when it claims to have renounced itself." Silence, not awkward, not hostile, just exposed. Harry uncrossed his arms. "You're twisting my words," he said. Campbell shook his head slowly. "I haven't touched them yet." Harry swallowed. The microphones captured everything: a breath, a shift, a crack, barely visible, but real. And for the first time since the conversation began, Prince Harry looked less like a guest, and more like someone being examined. The silence stretched just long enough to become uncomfortable. Prince Harry shifted in his chair again, this time less subtly. His fingers tapped once against the table before he caught himself and folded his hands together. He was used to interviews turning tense, but not like this. Not without raised voices, not without headlines being thrown at him like weapons. This was different. Alastair Campbell hadn't raised his voice. He hadn't challenged Harry's truth outright. He hadn't even contradicted him. He'd simply waited. "Let me be clear," Campbell said at last, voice measured. "I'm not questioning your pain." Harry nodded quickly. "Good. I'm questioning the function of that pain in public discourse." Harry frowned. What does that even mean? Campbell leaned forward slightly, elbows resting on the arms of his chair. "You speak about trauma," he said, "and you speak about accountability, often in the same breath." Harry straightened. "As I should." "Possibly," Campbell replied, "but accountability usually runs in two directions." Harry's eyes narrowed. "I've taken responsibility for my decisions." "Have you?" Campbell asked calmly. Harry opened his mouth, then paused. "Yes," he said. "I walked away. I gave up titles. I gave up protection. I paid a price." Campbell nodded, as if noting a point in a debate rather than contesting it. "And yet," he said, "you continue to shape narratives about people who cannot respond." Harry stiffened. "My family can respond whenever they like." Campbell didn't push back immediately. Instead, he asked, "Do you believe silence is always a choice?" The question landed heavier than the others. Harry hesitated. "In their position? Yes." Campbell tilted his head slightly. "So, when a powerful institution chooses silence, it's strategy." Harry shrugged. "And when an individual speaks publicly, repeatedly, globally, it's truth?" Harry's jaw tightened. "You're framing this unfairly." "I'm framing it symmetrically," Campbell replied. Harry leaned forward now, forearms resting on his knees. "Let's stop pretending this is neutral," he said. "You've advised governments. You know how power works." Campbell smiled faintly. "Exactly." Harry's voice sharpened. "So don't act like I'm the one wielding it." Campbell didn't interrupt. He waited until Harry finished, until the words stopped echoing in the room, then spoke softly. "Power isn't only institutional," he said. "It's reputational, emotional, narrative." Harry shook his head. "You're making it sound like I'm manipulating people." "I'm saying," Campbell replied, "that stories persuade, even when they're sincere." Harry exhaled sharply. "I never wanted persuasion. I wanted understanding." "And you got it," Campbell said. "In abundance." Harry blinked. "Did you?" Campbell met his gaze. "From millions." The air felt thicker now. Harry leaned back, crossing his arms again. But this time it looked defensive, not reflective. "So what's the accusation?" he asked. "That I should have stayed silent?" Campbell shook his head. "No, that you should recognize the weight of your voice." Harry laughed once, short and humorless. "That's rich, coming from you." Campbell accepted the jab without reaction. "I've spent much of my career trying to reduce the damage of powerful voices," he said. "Not always successfully." Harry scoffed. "At least you admit that?" Campbell nodded. "Do you?" The question hung in the air. Harry's expression hardened. "I don't regret telling my story." "That's not what I asked," Campbell said gently. Harry stared at him. "Do you regret anything about how it was told?" The studio seemed to shrink. Harry looked down briefly, then back up. "No," he said firmly, "because if I hadn't spoken, the truth would have been buried." Campbell raised an eyebrow. "Whose truth?" Harry's patience snapped just slightly. "My truth," he said. "The truth." Campbell leaned back, folding his hands. "That's the moment narratives become dangerous," he said, "when personal truth declares itself universal." Harry shook his head. "You're splitting hairs." "No," Campbell replied. "I'm drawing lines." Harry leaned forward again, voice rising for the first time. "You're implying I've done harm." Campbell didn't flinch. "I'm asking whether harm can exist without intent." Harry opened his mouth, then stopped. The answer didn't come immediately. That hesitation, brief but undeniable, changed the room. Campbell noticed it. "So, let me ask you this," he continued. "When people use your words to justify cynicism, division, or distrust, do you feel responsible?" Harry's face flushed slightly. "I can't control how people interpret things." "Governments say that too," Campbell replied. Harry shot him a sharp look. "That's not the same." "Isn't it?" Campbell asked quietly. The silence that followed wasn't polite anymore. It was charged. Harry uncrossed his arms, rubbing his palms together, as if grounding himself. "You came into this with an agenda," he said. Campbell nodded once. "Yes." Harry's eyes widened. "And it's not what you think." Campbell leaned forward again, voice low. "My agenda is simple, to understand whether walking away from power absolves someone from its consequences." Harry stared at him. "I didn't walk away to be absolved," he said. "I walked away to survive." Campbell held his gaze. "And now you're asking the world to survive your story." Harry stood up abruptly, then stopped himself, sitting back down with visible effort. The microphones caught his breath. "I'm done being dissected," he said sharply. Campbell didn't argue. Instead, he asked one final question, quiet, precise, almost gentle. "Then why do you keep coming back?" Harry froze, not angry, not defensive, just still. And for the first time since the conversation began, he didn't answer at all. The silence after Campbell's question didn't break naturally. It fractured. Prince Harry shifted again, this time standing halfway before sitting back down, as if his body had moved before his mind could catch up. His jaw clenched. He looked past the camera for a brief second, toward the producer's desk, the studio lights, anything that wasn't the man across from him. "Because people keep asking," Harry said finally. His voice was steady, but the muscles in his neck betrayed him. Campbell nodded slowly. "Do they?" he asked. "Or do you keep answering?" Harry exhaled sharply through his nose. "That's unfair." Campbell raised a hand, not defensively, but to slow the pace. "No accusations," he said. "Just sequence." Harry leaned forward again, this time gripping the edge of the table. "You're turning this into something it's not," he said. "This was supposed to be a conversation." "It is," Campbell replied. "Conversations become uncomfortable when they stop flattering us." Harry's eyes flashed. "So, you think I came here to be flattered?" "I think," Campbell said carefully, "you came here expecting empathy." Harry laughed, a tight, brittle sound. "And instead, I got cross-examination." Campbell didn't smile. "You got clarity," he said. "That's often mistaken for hostility." Harry shook his head. "You're doing what the media always does," he snapped, reframing, undermining. Campbell leaned in, his tone still controlled, but firmer now. "No. The media amplifies. I'm asking you to own the amplification." Harry's voice rose. "I don't control the press." "But you choose the platforms," Campbell replied. "And you choose the timing." Harry slammed his palm lightly against the table. Just once, but enough. "You have no idea what it's like," he said. "Growing up inside that system, being watched, controlled." Campbell met his gaze. "I know what it's like to watch systems implode," he said, "often because those inside them confuse exposure with resolution." Harry scoffed. "So now you're saying I made things worse." Campbell didn't dodge it this time. "I'm saying some wounds heal privately," he said. "Others fester when they're turned into spectacle." Harry's face hardened completely. "My life is not a spectacle." Campbell held his stare. "Then why does it require an audience?" The words landed like a slap. Harry pushed his chair back slightly. "This is exactly why people don't trust commentators like you," he said. "You sit outside, judging." Campbell's voice sharpened for the first time. And you sit inside a global platform insisting you're powerless. Harry's eyes widened. That's not what I said. It's what you imply, Campbell replied. Victimhood and authority are not opposites, Harry. They can coexist. Harry stood up fully now. This is crossing a line, he said. Campbell didn't move. Which line? He asked. The personal one or the public one? Harry pointed toward the camera. This ends now. Campbell glanced briefly at the producer, then back at Harry. Before you go, he said calmly, answer one thing. Harry hesitated, hands still resting on the chair. You've asked enough. Just one, Campbell said. And not for me. Harry's shoulders tensed. For the people watching, Campbell continued, if telling your story has become painful, why not stop telling it? Harry turned back, eyes blazing. Because silence protects the powerful, he said. Campbell nodded. And speech protects the speaker. Harry opened his mouth to respond, but Campbell continued, pressing gently but decisively. So, which one are you protecting now? The studio felt unbearably quiet. Harry's face flushed. His breathing was audible in the microphone. That's it, he said. You don't get to define my motives. I didn't, Campbell replied. I asked you to. Harry shook his head, backing away from the table. This was a setup, he said. You invited me here to tear me apart. Campbell remained seated. No, he said. I invited you to examine yourself. Harry reached toward the earpiece, fingers trembling slightly. I'm done. Campbell watched him carefully. One last thing, he said, and I won't follow up. Harry paused. Campbell's voice softened again, but the words were sharper than anything before. When history looks back on this period of your life, do you want to be remembered as someone who escaped the institution, or someone who never stopped fighting it from the outside? Harry froze. For a split second, something flickered across his face. Not anger, not indignation. Uncertainty. Then it vanished. That's not your call, Harry said coldly. He reached for the controls. The screen flickered. Audio spiked. And just before the connection cut, Campbell spoke one final sentence. Quiet. Unmistakable. History won't ask who was right, he said. Only who took responsibility. The feed went dark. The screen went black. Not dramatically, not with a fade out or a musical cue. Just black. For half a second, no one spoke. Then the red live indicator blinked off. The studio didn't exhale. It froze. Alastair Campbell remained seated, hands folded loosely in front of him, eyes still fixed on the empty monitor where Prince Harry's face had been seconds earlier. No sigh, no shake of the head. Just stillness. A producer's voice crackled faintly through the headset. We've lost the connection. Campbell nodded once. Yes, he said quietly. We have. The camera was still rolling, now no longer broadcasting, but recording. Campbell turned slightly toward it, not with triumph, not with irritation, but with something closer to resignation. That, he said, choosing each word carefully, is what disengagement looks like when conversation becomes accountability. He paused. No insults were exchanged, he continued. No shouting, no ambush. Another pause. Just a question that couldn't be controlled. He leaned back in his chair. We'll leave it there. The producer cut the feed. Across the Atlantic, in a quiet room far from the studio lights, Prince Harry stood motionless, headphones still on, staring at his own reflection in the darkened screen. The call had ended, but the words hadn't. He pulled the headset off and dropped it onto the desk harder than necessary. Someone off camera spoke his name. He didn't respond. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then, quietly, almost to himself, he knew exactly what he was doing. But even as he said it, the certainty wasn't there, because part of him knew something else. Campbell hadn't attacked him. He hadn't mocked him. He hadn't dismissed his pain. He had simply refused to carry it for him. Within minutes, clips began circulating, short ones first. Why does it require an audience? Victimhood and authority can coexist. Which one are you protecting now? The comments split instantly. Some called it cruel, others called it overdue. Supporters accused Campbell of arrogance. Critics accused Harry of running. But one thing was undeniable. People watched, and then they rewatched. Media outlets raced to frame it. Prince Harry storms off podcast. Alastair Campbell pushes too far. when interviews turn into interrogations. But beneath the headlines, something more interesting happened. The tone shifted, not outrage, reflection. Viewers began asking questions that hadn't been asked before. Not about the monarchy, not about betrayal, not about trauma, but about exit. When does telling your story become repeating it? When does explanation turn into performance? When does pain stop being truth and start becoming identity? Later that evening, Campbell released a single statement. No thread, no follow-up interviews, just one paragraph. Conversation requires courage from both sides. Walking away is a choice, but it is also an answer. Harry, for his part, said nothing. No tweets, no statements, no clarifications. And in that silence, something unexpected happened. For the first time in a long while, the story didn't continue. It lingered, unfinished, unresolved, and maybe, finally, honest. If this conversation made you uncomfortable, that's the point. If it made you think, that's the power of real dialogue. Like the video if you believe tough questions still matter. Subscribe for more stories where silence speaks louder than words. Because sometimes, the moment someone walks away is when the real story begins.